Hello, everybody. My name is Violet Chantal, and today I'm going to be continuing my Violet's Film Journal series. I've really been enjoying making these videos so far. I haven't made like a ton of them, admittedly, so far, but I'm really having a good time doing it, and I'm excited to continue it today with a film that I just saw tonight. That I have quite a bit to say about, and we're going to be talking about Dev Patel's new film, Monkey Man. Okay. So, Monkey Man I want to make sure I get this right off the bat, is directed, story, produced, and stars Dev Patel. I want to say right off the bat, I'm just going to say this right off the bat. I'll get into like the overall thoughts like in a second or so. Dev Patel is incredible in this film. Like not even like in so many ways. I just want to like say it right off the bat. He is absolutely phenomenal in every aspect in this film. From the acting, where he is so riveting and haunting, but also like the emotional power that he has with like just like the facial looks he has and like the eye acting, and also just like the physical gravitas of his performance and just how he put his all into this. Because character wise, the character whose name is Kid just like goes all out, but like himself as a performer he just like embodies that to a point where it's like I was just like in awe, and just reading like some of like the behind the scenes stuff with like how he got injured doing a lot of like things. I believe like one of like the very first action scenes in the film, he like broke his hand filming it. Obviously it's terrible. Like I'm not trying to romanticize that, but also just like that's just showing just how much commitment and dedication and just like how much he loved this project. And just his performance in general, like I said, is phenomenal. It is so phenomenal. There is such a power to it and such like renaissance to it, and it is absolutely just brilliant. And you can really tell he was just soaking all of that energy in. And the way that he just like put it out there on the screen, and again many different ways, it's just so inspiring. And the directing and the story, and also he produced it, but the directing and the story here, which he did both of those. Directing, the fact that this is his first film like directing is astonishing. It's astonishing, especially because like one of the harder genres of film to do as a directorial debut is like action filmmaking, especially on such a high budget Hollywood like glamoury sort of like level like this film is. And of course like he has a lot of experience, with like filmmaking in general, like on like a high scale, but still directing a film quite like this to this like precise and pristine of a level for your directorial debut is so just like I like it leaves me in awe. And again, like I said, like it's so inspiring. It is genuinely some of the best directing I honestly have seen this decade. And I really mean that, because like when you take into consideration just like how much he put himself into this, and the fact that it's a debut, and the fact that like there's a lot about this film that is so specific to his point of view and his like feeling of everything, and the way that it's captured, so like you just feel it's so tangible, and it's like it's just there in a way that you really have to go all out, and he does that with flying colors. I genuinely think it's one of my favorite directing efforts so far this decade. And story wise, I think this film is absolutely brilliant, but we'll get into that a little bit later. And so, obviously, spoiler alert, I think this film is fantastic. I really like this film a lot. So, this film, to get into everything else, oh my goodness. Okay, where do I begin? There's so much to say. I think the first thing I want to get into is to kind of like talk about like just action filmmaking as a whole. Like, like my favorite action films of all time are The Matrix and Mad Max Fury Road. And those two films, like the thing about those movies that works so well for me is the action in them is groundbreaking, absolutely groundbreaking, and it is so just like clever and creative, and just it has such like a coolness to it, but also such like a just like huge overwhelming like stimulating energy to it all, and just like the franticness of it all, but also just like the slowing down of just like the details. It's just like those movies leave me in awe. I actually just rewatched Max Fury Road like very recently, and that's one of the greatest movies ever made, like easily. And like so just like seeing like action films continue to push boundaries like this, and definitely this film like very much has like influences, but like just the way that like Dev Patel and everybody else involved with the film, you know, like the art direction, stuff like that, and like the choreography, everything like that, and just screenplay wise and writing wise, like it comes together in such a way that is so uniquely like their own vision now. Just like seeing like an action film like this that has that sort of like power to it, but like more importantly, when you combine all of that together, the reason why I love like films like The Matrix and Mad Max Fury Road are, it's just like the emotional like power it has though, where like it's connecting like all of these like frantic like crazy ideas, like it's connecting it all together by like going to like some of the purest like parts of like the human experience, and a lot of them can be like some of like the harshest experiences and stuff that nobody should go through. But the way that this film decides to capture those type of ideas is it has like such like a delicacy to it and like a sensitivity to all of it, but the way that it like is incorporated into like the progression of like things in the arc just left me just so just like a profound just like feeling for everything that was going on. One thing I just want to say right off the bat is like, as much as like the action is crazy in this film and it is so just like awe-inspiring to watch, like really what this film is leaving me with the most is like the emotional power of it. Like I got pretty like choked up. I'm an easy crier, admittedly. That's one thing that like, you know, many people make fun of me for, which is fine. I'm a very easy crier, admittedly, but like there's moments in this film that were really like overwhelming. I think for, you know, really anybody, some things that happen in this film are really overwhelming. This is one of those films I will say you might want to look up just like what it's like rated for, just so like you know going in like some things that happen in this film, because this is a very heavy movie. One thing I want to say also, because you know I'm talking about how much I love it in terms of like an emotional sense, but like one thing I want to say too is to be sensitive. There's some pretty like challenging things to watch in this film, and when it's also combined with like some really like bloody and really graphic violence, it can be a lot. The way that it all came together for me in terms of like the core of everything happening and how it made me feel overall about like the action and like the production of it all, and just like that feeling that it's leaving me is so just, like grateful to have a theatrical and cinematic experience like this, because for me, like it, like, you know, I love film, and like any film that's made is like a miracle, and like I'm so excited to watch like really any film, like even if I don't like it, because like still it's like a film, it's a piece of art. But these are the experiences I look to the most, that leave me with the most just like energy and the most just like enthusiasm, because of the power that they have on me. And so like this film overall does that in such a brilliant way. One more thing I want to say before I get into like theme wise, like really in depth what I love about it. One thing I want to say about like just the production of it all is the art direction. One thing I want to say too is I do like to, when I talk about like, you know, like some people who involved the film, I write down their names. I want to say, if I, as I say this for every review I do, but if I mispronounce any of their names, I'm really sorry. Please call me out for it if I do. Like genuinely, I would not take any offense. The art direction is by Ahmed Zul Arianan. I mispronounced that. I'm so sorry. The art direction in this film is absolutely incredible. Like it is so phenomenal. Everything looks gorgeous, and like just like the visual style of it all, also mixed with like the editing and obviously the choreography of it all. The editing. 3 people did the editing to this movie. Joe Galado, David Janeso, and Tim Morell. I hope I pronounced all their names right. Just like when you combine like the direction of everything, and of course like Dev Patel also is involved with all this, of course. But when it's like so fast paced and it's so like precise, just seeing it edited in such like a jarring and overstimulating way, it comes together, and the set pieces are just unbelievable in this movie. Like genuinely, like the craftsmanship on this film is just like, especially for like Dev Patel, like his directorial debut with like a film like this, is just like, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And just like to get into it now, I think it's a good transition. Like to get into like the themes of it all. I say this about like a lot of films that I like. I tend to like more like dark, sort of like sad works, admittedly. And so like there's a lot about this film that really like spoke to me. There's such an overwhelming like sadness and grief to this film, and one of like the most painful things in life that you can go through is like having such like a faith, like a devout faith to something, or just like a belief in something, or like an emotional connection or something, or just something that just like makes you like happy. When that is ripped away from you, especially in how this film depicts some of that stuff, and it just like it leaves like the characters and the people involved in general just like they still have it and they want to reclaim it so badly, but it's like, even if it's unintentional and it's not their fault at all, there's like a masking to it of like really just like feeling like everything. Like there's such like high emotions, like going to like some of like the complexities of it, like you're thinking about them, but it's like fully just like allowing yourself to feel that grief. Which this film like depicts moments like that of like these like insane highs and insane lows. But when it really gets to like the nuanced moments of it all, and they're just letting yourself just feel like all of that, just like sadness and like emptiness, you know, like when you really are able to like heal from it and stuff like that. Like there's a line in this film that really encompasses it for me, like fully what this film is really like about in some ways. It was like Dev Patel says in an interview, this movie is really about faith and like belief, and that's really what the film I think comes down to at the end of the day, and like the belief in each other. But like one thing that the film really addresses is like trauma, because this film is very much like based in trauma. It's sort of similar in a way. They're very different, like plot wise and like action wise, but it's kind of similar to like the first Rambo film, First Blood, where like there's like there's like characters that like you can tell have like these like emotions and like you don't really understand or like know what's happening with them, but like when you like bring them out of them, it is terrifying in a lot of ways, but also it's like you understand like why it's happening, because it's like it's an unfortunate like product of their environment also in a certain type of way, and like and because like a lot of it like is not their fault, like absolutely at all, but it's like showing that process of such extreme pain being shown in like a revenge type of setting, and then like when you like allow yourself to like fully feel like everything, like when you're at like your roots end, is just like, I don't know, it just left me with such like a feeling of just like, I don't even know, like it was just overwhelming, I think is a good way to say it. And like to go back to a line quickly, like I was addressing, like there's a line in this film that I forget the exact wording of it, but it was like you can't like heal if you don't allow it to like like you don't allow it to fully teach you. I love that line. I love it. You know, it's like just like calmly and gently, just like in such like just like great wording, and just like you really like understand it, just showing that like the process of grief is something that you have to go through, and as painful as it is, like you have to just like allow yourself to feel everything. It really like spoke to me so much. And so with that, like when you get to like the action sequences where they are so crazy, and there's a lot about it too. Like I'm talking about how harrowing it is and like disturbing it is, but I gotta say there's things in this movie action wise that are cool, very genuinely cool, especially choreography wise. Like when it comes together with all those aesthetics and all those like feelings, we got really like captivated into it, and I got so like engaged with the story. And I thought it was just like it was great. And like, you know, like one more thing about it emotionally is like, before I get into other things, like there's a lot of things about this movie that like are really just like beautiful and heartfelt. This actually is a great transition point. There's a lot about this film that's about like culture and your roots, really, and like where you come from. Like, you know, like what I was saying, like you know, you're coming from a place where it's like ripped away from you, and it's like regaining that. But one thing that it shows, and I'm so glad that it shows this, because of course at the end of the day, when you're recovering from like a trauma situation, or like you're having like really intense feelings, and like you're trying to like calm down those feelings, or just have like a different like nuanced perspective or thing, it is just as important having people there to support you, like genuinely it is. And the way that this film goes about showing that, but when it's like connected to like the cultures of people, and just like the connections you have with that, it is just so authentic, and it's just really awesome just to see like some like ideas that and just like themes and stuff explored here, like through that. My apologies if the exposure just randomly changed. That's why I got stumbled in my words there for a second. I have no clue what happened there, but let's continue. But one thing, like, really, I want to say, there's a lot of, like, aspects about this that I definitely cannot speak on fully. Like, this is just gonna, like, I'm talking about, like, my own experience with some stuff like this. But one thing that has recently discussed about this film is that the film explores sort of like the Hijra culture in India, which is sort of like, if I understand it correctly, it's sort of like what's considered like the third gender in India, and like, you know, like the trans experience, and like the gender non-conforming experience, like the intersex experience. And there's even more to it in terms of people with like, you know, who haven't been like circumcised and stuff like that. The way that this film goes about exploring that aspect in such an authentic way. And Dev Patel said it so beautifully of just like people coming together as one, like not like fighting against each other, and just like underdogs and stuff like that, and like people that are like, you know, being like repressed and stuff like that, and you're just coming together to like heal each other, but also just like push them forward and like belief in them, and just like regaining that faith. Like how it explores all of that by being also like, from what I can tell, so like authentic to that culture and those people. You know, for me as a trans person, like I loved it. I loved it. It's definitely one of my favorite parts about the film. Like there's so many like just like differences and like, you know, aspects to every experience. And many kinds of like, you know, cultures and experiences and like, you know, like the lives of people in general. But one thing I really, really love seeing, you know, with stuff that I can really connect with is just seeing like just like different experiences and different like, you know, just like lessons that you can learn from it. You know, like there's such a beauty to like everybody's differences, but also just like that like incredible just like belief you have, and like what like motivates people, and like, you know, what makes them like, you know, happy and like fulfilled, that camaraderie and just like that family, you know, bond. I love seeing it like represented in stuff like this. And of course, like, you know, with that combined, you know, with like just like the sense of like losing your identity and trying to like reclaim it, and just like the connection that like you're trying to like feel within like yourself, and like, you know, like the roots that you have, or like where you're coming from, and just like finding yourself again is such like a beautiful journey. And of course, like the way this film explores that in a lot of ways is hard to watch, and it's really bloody and violent at points, but again, like when all of it's combined into such a just like grand piece of filmmaking, I just absolutely loved it. And so some other things too, is to talk about a bit more visually. The cinematography here, again, hopefully I say this name right. Sharon Mier, I really hope I said that right. I'm again really sorry if I don't. Like the precision of things, but also like the handheld like shakiness and sort of like guerrilla style like influences of filmmaking this film has. Like it really, really like works like really, really well, because like it's juxtapositioning like so many like ideas together, but also just like feelings that certain like imagery is trying to make you have and stuff like that. And so like when there's so much just like tension at stake, and like with the ideas and it coming together visually like that, again, like I said, it just makes it such like an experience that like not many films of like this stature are like really go for. And I'm not trying to like undermine like, you know, like other films, like just talking about like big Hollywood productions like this movie goes to places that a lot of films don't, and like, and that's okay. But just like for me, like seeing it though, it's so inspiring, and I love that about it. Like, I guess two other things I want to also say. One thing too, I also want to say about like the music to this film. This movie, I really like it when films like, you know, like works do this. Where it's like you have like an actual like, you know, score. The score to this film is by, I hope I say this name right, Jed Kurzel. I really hope I said that right. It's really, really, really good. Like it's definitely like very like synthy and electronic, but also like it gets pretty minimalistic at points where it's like you don't think it's gonna be minimalistic. It's to the benefit of those sequences, because you have sort of like this like meditative like minimalistic like, you know, background of like the music, but when it's like combined with like absolutely bonkers like action sequences, like I really, really love that. Like I'm really into like minimalism in the meditative sense, but like it's in the most like grand sort of like settings and feelings and stuff like that, and the way that it's done here is just fantastic. And so one more thing I want to say about the music and the sound design of this movie is like the soundtrack portion of it, I thought was just as great, honestly. Like there's a few like two songs I want to mention specifically that I was quite like, yeah, that's awesome. Is Rick Ross's and Jay-Z's "Devil Is a Lie," "The Devil Is a Lie." That's in this movie. That's an incredible song in my opinion. The instrumental to that song is so good. But one other song too that's in this movie that I was not expecting is Swedish House Mafia's and Sting's "Red Light." And the way that it's used in this movie is so good, and the way that it just it accompanies like what's happening in that certain moment and section in the film, because it also comes as like a key part in the film. Like both of them do, but like Red Light really does, in my opinion. I just thought it was so cool. And it was just awesome just to see like the differences and like styles of music throughout the film too. Just like I guess like some other things that like just like some final thoughts, because like, you know, I don't want to get like too repetitive. The stunt work in this movie, the like when you're talking about movies like this, admittedly with such like also like combat stuff where it's like choreographed and like real and stuff like that, the stunt work in this movie is like I you know, like I feel like there's nothing else to say but that it's inspiring. It's incredible. Like the people who put their bodies like in some ways honestly on the line when it comes to like injuries and stuff like that. Like, like this film has been publicized like to have, even to like, Dev Patel, who's like doing a lot of the combat in this movie and like really, really worked on his body and stuff like that, like to get into like proper shape for like some of like the insanity of this movie. And just like seeing that combined with like the stunt work and just like visually, like, visual like effects wise, like it is really, really remarkable and should be commended. Like, a lot of people, like throughout like the last like, 2 decades, or, forever really at this point of been like, like trying to be like, look, like stunt work needs to be recognized, more. And, especially in films like this. And of course, like, some other films like, the John Wick movies and stuff like that. And just seeing it like come alive like this, and just seeing just like, again, like the craftsmanship at display here, the beauty to stuntmanship, it's very dangerous, of course. And unfortunately, like, sometimes people have like lost their lives because of it. And like, again, like that's why I'm saying that like it's so like that's horrible, of course, but like there's like it needs to be appreciated more because like people really put their all into it. And I think that just kind of leaves me with like the final point I really want to like push home about this movie is the acting in this movie for everybody is fantastic. It's like it's really, really good. There's enough like subtlety when there needs to be and enough like ambiguity of some performances, but like when you see the characters at their full selves and when they truly like reveal like their true feelings, it's phenomenal. And just also Dev Patel, like just like he just goes for it in this film acting wise. Like he goes for it. There were points in the movie where I was just left in just pure, just like I didn't even know how to like to describe it. Like some of like the like things that he has to like push himself to like act at in this movie and like perform as an actor. Like you need such a good sense of control and understanding of your character, but also you have to just like lose yourself at the same time, and that's hard to do. And he does it here with like incredible results. Again, just to kind of wrap it up because I don't want to get into circles and like I'm saying a lot of words, admittedly, but I just like there's such like a power to this film and the way that it explores like where like your roots and where you come from and like that being ripped away from you, trying to regain that like control and comfort, but like you're losing yourself more and more and just like regaining that faith, but like for like your own culture again or like new experiences or just like the belief and faith of people and just like pushing yourself to your full like like ability, and just like unlocking parts of yourself that as painful as they are, it results in like becoming even stronger as a person. And just combined with like the craziness of this movie also, it creates an experience that like is made to be seen. I would really recommend seeing this one in theaters. Sound and visually wise, it is phenomenal. I know this movie is playing like in some premium formats like Dolby Cinema at AMC theaters here in the States. And so if you can see it in one of those places, I highly recommend it. And so yeah, so those are just some like rambly thoughts on Monkey Man. As much as I like doing these like little review things, I definitely just ramble. That's admittedly like one of my things that I do. Hopefully in the future it's a little more concise and put together. But for now that's just my rambly little self. So those are just some thoughts on Monkey Man. This movie is phenomenal. This is definitely gonna probably be one of my favorites of the year. When I look back to it, it's like some of my favorites of the year and stuff like that. And yeah, so, thank you all for watching, if you are still watching, and stuff like that. And, thank you guys so much. And, I guess with that, I will see you in whatever, the next video is if you keep up with my content and stuff like that. Alrighty, thank you all so much. Much love and take care of yourself. Bye.